my hands go.
Hi, welcome to Politics Now. I'm Mark Skonecki. Today we're going to talk about a group of Central Florida women who are trying to restore some civility to politics. I guess good luck with that. And we're also going to look at some of the legislative goodies that might be coming Central Florida's way as the session wraps up in Tallahassee. We'll be looking at social media again, as we do every week, with Kayla O'Brien. And finally, Scott Maxwell, our columnist, will have winners and losers of the week. So our first story today is about this group of women who think that politics has gotten a little bit too rude. Susan Jacobson filed this report.
Talking about the incivility that has invaded politics today. The Accord Project is doing something about it.
Our mission is to try to reach out and see if we can make some positive changes in the way politicians speak to each other, debate with each other. We would like to go back to a time when our politicians were statesmen and put country before party. And there's been a lot of what we consider vulgarity, rudeness, and bullying behavior there. And we're trying to let them know that we are looking for this civility and decency and respect in our political discourse.
A lot of people have
Susan
been
joins me now to talk a
incivility.
little bit more about this story. Thanks for joining us, Susan. So tell me a little bit more about these women. Who are they?
They're a group of friends, mostly well-educated, who are appalled by what they were seeing in the debates and in other political discourse, and they want to make a difference and change it.
So it's the Trump, Rubio, Cruz, spats that's spawning all this? Or?
That's only part of it. I think it really begins with some TV shows such as Trump's own Apprentice and the American Idol, where people are mocked, made fun of, humiliated. And that's spilling over into our political discourse, which is a place where there's a lot more at stake.
Indeed. What kind of traction are they getting so far?
Well, so far it's just in its beginning stages, but they have met with the staff of Marco Rubio, the presidential candidate, of course, and with the wife of Bill Nelson, Florida senator, and they're hoping to set an example themselves. So they vowed to be polite, and they hope that that's going to spread to the electorate and other people.
That's fantastic, Susan. Now, if you'd like to read Susan's story, it's online at orlandosentinel.com, and it'll be in the newspaper tomorrow. You know, we actually did this a little backwards. I think I'm going to go ahead and do some headlines right now, if that's okay. Let's start with Ted Cruz. He's gained some traction this week with the primary victories, and both he and Donald Trump are now calling on Marco Rubio to try to drop out of the race. Secondly, there was a Rubio rally here in Central Florida. In Sanford, they drew about 1,000 people to the airport up there. And Rubio has just announced that he's going to be in the Villages this Sunday. We'll have more on that online in the paper later today. And finally, Bernie Sanders, in the next hour or so, is going to have his own rally here in Central Florida in Kissimmee. He is campaigning a bunch. The crowd's getting pretty big, I'm being told, and he's going to be campaigning here and in Tampa later today. So now we're about ready. Well, let's talk now about the legislature. I'm sorry, I've got this all messed up today, but we'll get through it. The legislature is wrapping up on Friday, at least they're expected to wrap up on Friday, and there are plenty of goodies heading our way because of the Central Florida leadership in the legislature. The biggest thing is the $20 million that UCF needs to help build a downtown Orlando campus. There's also nearly $6 million for an advanced manufacturing center that's being planned for Kissimmee. These are all part of the state budget. Now, there's the catch. The governor and the legislature have not been getting along too well. The governor wanted some economic incentive money, didn't get it. The governor also wanted much more in tax cuts and got very little of what he asked for. So there's a chance that some of these things might get vetoed. We'll just have to watch and see. They'll finish on Friday, and then the governor's got a couple weeks to sort it all out. It's also possible the legislature could come back and try and override him, which hasn't happened in a while. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, let's move on to the fun part of the show. Hi, Kayla. This is
Hello.
Kayla O'Brien.
Hello, how are
And
you?
she's going to talk about what's going on with social media
Yes.
and the candidates. So what do
I
we got?
found the best things of this week, and there's a lot. So Donald Trump starts it off. He's got a scathing ad against Marco Rubio, and I want you to see. It's very short. It's only 30 seconds. So he approves the message. Here we go. Starts off with Marco Rubio and kind of talks about some of his friends that are involved in some illegal activity and such. So I want to get down to the end. It's where the graphic changes, and I think this view is very interesting.
Wow.
I mean, when I saw that this morning, I was like, wow, that's showing Marco in a really bad light. And that was posted on Donald Trump's Twitter page, and he's got about two or three different versions of this ad. It also talks about his Senate record and a couple other negative things about Rubio. So I was shocked. I mean, Trump has been pushing the envelope, but that one I think has crossed the line a little bit. So another video, this is Ted Cruz. He's going the religious route with his ad. This is also posted to his Twitter page. So it's appealing to the Sunday morning crowd, the very religious, the Christian, many different scenes. I haven't really seen much of the candidates really gearing towards that crowd. So this is kind of a...
That is really Cruz's area. He's with evangelicals. He's done very well.
Exactly. So he's really owning that and putting that on his page. This one I thought is pretty interesting, and it has a Florida tie-in. So this is John Kasich, and apparently a coach who used to play for UF, or used to coach for UF,
Urban
is
Meyer.
endorsed. Urban Meyer, there you go, has endorsed John Kasich for president. So this is their interview. They're kind of talking back and forth, and he reveals that he was invited to a dinner with him, but he wants him to win the race. And it's kind of an interesting. Now he coaches for Ohio State.
Correct.
So, you know, Ohio's his big campaign trail. So
I'm not sure if that helps him or hurts him with the Gator fans.
I don't know. I don't know. That, I mean, you're seeing a familiar face, but I thought it was interesting. I mean, he's not a political candidate. He's had nothing to do with politics, and he's endorsing him. It's kind of saying, like, I don't know. Oh, Ozzy Osbourne endorsed me. Who cares? But I mean, some people, especially Florida and Ohio State fans, might find it interesting. This one is very Florida-based. Marco Rubio, he's really trying to win in Florida. That's his home state. So he used a lot of images from his hometown. He went to Miami. He was there last night, and we can see it here. He really focused in on Florida. And then towards the end of the video, he kind of expands it out. You see some Wisconsin fields and some mountains in California or wherever. But he starts it off really focusing and honing in on Miami and Florida itself. So here's some old Marco showing that he's a Florida-born boy. So we'll see and the polls are really showing that he's not winning in Florida at this point, but you never know. You never know till people get to the polls. So that was Marco's. And then I also found some other Twitter fun. So this is and I actually found out this person that owns this vehicle is from Brevard County. So I'm actually working on that story right now. But this is a Ted Cruz volunteer that was working in Miami. I guess yesterday they showed up. You can see right here, it's Ted Cruz with a cigarette in his mouth and all tatted up.
Yeah.
And it says Ted Cruz 2016 Truth. It's very odd. The man who posted it is a anchor for Al Jazeera, and he said he's gotten mixed reviews about the picture. Some people are super supportive, and some people are saying this is ridiculous.
I'm guessing Ted probably doesn't have those tattoos. Just
I don't think so either, but guess who retweeted this picture? Ted Cruz himself. So
Wow.
he must support, I guess, the idea of someone supporting him to the point of putting it on their car. So what if he gets out of the race? What do you do with this car? That's my question. Is where do you go
obviously,
from
yeah.
here? Do you go? Do you make the face of Trump? I mean, I don't know. So I thought that was pretty funny, and it's local. All right, here's my last Twitter interest. This is Marco Rubio in Hialeah. This is his support rally. The picture from the stands. I mean, they rented out this whole facility.
Right.
Barely fit in the end zone.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that was obviously put out by opponents in their
Definitely. And I mean, they did a good job. That's a jarring photo. Maybe they should have gotten a smaller theater or something, and it would have looked packed.
Right.
So you gotta be careful with that. All right. Here's Instagram. Bernie Sanders getting a little off the top here. Only cost him $7, and this is at a local barbershop in Kansas. I thought that was pretty funny and cute, just kind of showing that he's a regular guy. And that's Bernie's kind of shtick, you know, he's just a normal person, he's on your side. And he's also kind of gotten into the Obama realm here with love always trumps hate. So we heard with Obama, you know, yes we can, that very simple direct message. And now he's kind of gearing towards that and going against Trump a little bit. So I thought that was interesting. And finally, this is a social media platform that we haven't really discussed too much. This is Reddit.
Right.
Are you on Reddit?
Yes.
You are on Reddit. I love it. I think it's really cool. It's for those really geeky internet nerds like me and you, obviously. And Hillary Clinton, she used Reddit for the first time. She only sent one message, so she probably posted it and then walked away.
Right.
But people went crazy and responded and were trying to talk to her. And it was interesting. So she just kind of put, hello, this is my first time on Reddit, as you probably could have guessed, obviously, because she's not really the most tech-friendly, as we heard with the email scandal. But I wanted to drop in and thank you so much for everything you're doing. So I thought that was interesting. She's really expanding out from the main Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So she's even going to the nerdy internet side to get votes.
The Periscope from the kitchen desk.
Periscope, Facebook Live, all those things. My favorite things to do and talk about.
Well, that's great, Kayla. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, and finally today we've got Scott Maxwell. Well, actually we don't have Scott Maxwell because he's at the Bernie Sanders rally as we speak, but we've got his taped version of his winners and losers. Here we go.
This week was actually a good week, well, to be a loser. We had a number of people competing, and in fact, this time I'm going to do a runner-up. Corinne Brown, the congresswoman who represents the area from Jacksonville to Orlando, she got into a bit of trouble when the leader of a charity that is connected to her and has done fundraising for her, pled guilty to fraud charges. Now, Corinne Brown herself has not been tagged on this, which is why she's not the main loser for the week, but this one is definitely worth watching because it does not look good for her. However, our big loser this week actually was our big winner 2 weeks ago. That's Florida's freshman senator, Marco Rubio. And part of the reason he's our loser is because he was a winner. 2 weeks ago, he was the toast of the political town. Jeb Bush had dropped out of the race. Everybody thought all the establishment support was going to him. And then he just bombed. We're talking from stud to dud in the course of about 6 days. He started making references to Donald Trump's genitalia and inferences about things like that, plummeted in the polls, finished behind John Kasich in at least one primary, and has basically underperformed ever since. Where Rubio is now is looking at making his last stand in Florida. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of talk from Rubio's folks about how they need to win Florida. That's a really, really low bar to set for yourself to win the state that you've already won. Normally, that doesn't even hardly count, but he's got all his eggs in that basket. So now Rubio's reduced to generating headlines like this from the Washington Post. Marco Rubio's campaign is basically over. Well, for going from hero to zero in 6 days, Marco Rubio is our loser of the week. And our winner of the week is Florida Senate President Andy Gardner. Andy is a Republican from right here in Orlando, and he's had a tough couple of years in the legislature, but this year things are looking pretty good. He's had several of his priorities make it through, including additional funding for kids with disabilities and special needs, and also UCF's downtown campus. Now, there's always a chance that things will get vetoed. In fact, Rick Scott did a lot of vetoing last year, but right now things are looking good. I dare say Gardner is sort of the toast of the town in Tallahassee. He was literally toasted this week by his peers. So with all the hopes pinned on UCF's downtown campus and his other projects, Andy Gardner right now is looking like our winner of the week.
Okay, well that's it for Politics Now, a slightly jumbled version of Politics Now today. We'll be back next week. Be sure and follow all the political news on OrlandoSentinel.com and in the newspaper. I'm Mark Skonecki. Have a great day.